Pokemon Gold and Silver are fan favorites to many Pokemon fans. From its unforgettable final battle to its beautiful region, it's easy to see why this is the case. But what if I told you this region itself actually isn't as great as you might think it is? Today, we're going to be focusing on the game's Gold and Silver and not Heart Gold and Soul Silver. While I may reference the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, it's primarily going to be focusing on the original Gen 2 games. These, of course, are my own opinions, and you're absolutely allowed to have different opinions. And if you do have one, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to see what you think. That being said, let's see what the second Pokemon game is all about. This region is no doubt one of the most beautiful regions Game Freak has actually ever developed. With the designs of the cities and how perfect the music is, you get lore with stuff like the Burned Tower, learning about the tragedy that struck the region. And I know I said this video was mainly about Gold and Silver, but how could I not mention Belchime Path? Walking through it in Heart Gold and Soul Silver and seeing the autumn-colored leaves everywhere still makes me in awe from just how amazing it is. The gym leaders as well have their own story to tell, such as everyone's favorite, Whitney, who just really likes cute Pokemon, or maybe Claire, trying to be better than Lance, or Faulkner's story of him getting his Pokemon from his dad. The routes are straightforward, filled with trainers that are required, and plenty that you can skip, which is actually a pretty big deal. After playing through some of the newer games, it seems like a lot of the earlier routes has just a bunch of mandatory fights, which makes leveling kind of more annoying than anything because you end up getting over-leveled. Not to mention this was the only region that lets you go to Kanto, and getting to explore the first games all over again in a whole new way. And walking through National Park and listening to music really makes you feel like you can just relax and set everything aside in life. Music is also on point in this region, not for the seas, but for the Pokemon, such as the ones that got added in Crystal for the legendary beast. And of course, the fight against Red, and the music, which is simply amazing. I quite literally listen to it all the time. Speaking of Pokemon, let's talk about the new ones introduced in Generation 2. Johto ended up adding 100 Pokemon to the roster from fan favorite starters such as the Cyndaquil line, and favorite mons such as Heracross and Tyranitar. This region also brought us shiny Pokemon, giving us a whole new take on catching them all and giving an exponentially long post-game. But this is actually one of the first pain points of the Gold and Silver games. Not shiny hunting per se, but the actual Pokemon locations. So, out of the 100 new Pokemon, there's actually only 38 Johto Pokemon that you can actually catch. And out of those 38 catchable Johto Pokemon, there's actually only 31 that you can catch in Johto. 6 out of those 31s are in completely optional areas which can completely be missed, such as Unknown in the Ruins of Alph. This number also shrinks once you take into effect version exclusives, going from 31 Pokemon to 28 into the Gold and Silver games. While this still does sound like a lot, keep in mind that this is about the same amount as routes and caves in Johto, if not a little less. So on average, that's only one new Pokemon per route. And some of these Pokemon are incredibly rare for no good reason, such as Quillfish, for instance, being a 10% encounter and needing a Super Rod, which isn't until post-game. Fan favorites like Heracross is also insanely hard to get. For those that don't know, you actually only can have one tree per route that actually has a Heracross in it. It's completely random by your trainer ID. It does have a 30% encounter rate once you find the tree, but you have to actually find the tree, and there are a lot of trees on some of these routes. You can spend hours headbutting trees and have a 0% chance of getting Heracross. And speaking of Pokemon native to the Johto region, did you know only 4 out of the 8 gym leaders in Gold and Silver have a Pokemon from the Johto region? And of those 4 gym leaders, they only have 1 Pokemon from Johto. To name a few, Whitney has Miltank, Claire has a Kingdra, but the other gym leaders could have some as well. Faulkner has a Pidgey and a Pidgeotto, which could easily be changed to a Hoo Noctowl. Bugsy could have been given a Heracross or a Spinarak instead of a Kakuna. Another huge thorn about the Gold and Silver games are the level scaling for the entire region. The 8 gym leaders' highest Pokemon is level 40, which is a Kingdra, which is also 10 levels lower than the previous region. And while they might have to fit in 2 regions, I genuinely don't think that that's much of an excuse for how they have their levels spread. The last route coming south from Blackthorn is where this really shows. The highest level Pokemon you can catch there is a level 27 Graveler. Gym trainers on this route are also a low level, being in the 20 range, which is very weird for it being the 8th gym. Victory Road also has a complete rework, with Pokemon at most being level 35. You do fight your rival here for the last time at his highest level being 38, which I made a whole video on rivals, which if you haven't already, I will leave down in the description below. The Elite Four also only go up to a max of 50, which if you battle every trainer and keep the same team throughout the entire game, it's actually very easy to result in overleveling. Trying to hardcore Nuzlocke this game is a pain, just because of how tight the levels are throughout the region. I tried this with my friend Jervy doing a Soul Link in it. The first gym leader's level being so low almost made this impossible to deal with. So those are my thoughts on the Johto region. While I love the design and the theme of the region, it is by far not a perfect region. With the odd level scaling throughout the entire game and the placement of some of the new Pokemon, the region itself is beautiful, but there is so many painful thorns just sticking out that it's dying to get reworked. From the lively lore that you can immerse yourself in, you do really get a sense what Game Freak was trying to do when they were going for here in this region, and it was their second ever Pokemon game, so you can give them some slack. Overall, I do still love the region, but I would love for them to do a complete rework of the games. But what do you think about the Johto region? Do you agree or disagree with my take? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.